Hey guys, so it is midnight here. I've had a couple of beers and I've been playing a bunch of StarCraft. Seems like a good time to make a video about StarCraft. So, I thought I would make a video just showing kind of what StarCraft is, basically from a spectator view and understanding of how it works, and also play a game and maybe watch a replay so that you guys can kind of just see from a player's perspective how the game ends up playing out. So what is StarCraft and what exactly is the goal in StarCraft? So technically in StarCraft the objective of the game is to kill all of the other players' buildings. So once you kill all the other players' buildings, that's it. The game ends. Doesn't matter if there's still armies left over. The game just ends and you win. Realistically, that's not ever what you'll actually see. So, kind of like in chess, if you ever watch really good players play chess, checkmate's technically how you win, but you rarely actually see the checkmate. Usually, the player who's losing realizes it at some point that he's lost the game and he forfeits the game. It's kind of bad form to make the other player play it all the way out if it's a really obvious win. Same way in StarCraft. You won't see the game to go to the end. You'll see somebody forfeit once they realize that they've lost. And so, in reality, the objective of StarCraft is not to kill all the buildings, but more to get ahead so much. And I like to divide it, in my mind, into 3 different mechanics. There's like an economy, which is basically just collecting resources so they can spend them on shit. Technology, which is basically things that you have unlocked that you can create, because there's a limitation on what you can create, and you can get technology which allows you to create different things. And the third thing is just your army and how strong it is. So those are kind of the 3 ways that you can try to get a lead or get an advantage over your opponent. You leverage those things to get a big enough lead that they know they're going to lose, and they end up forfeiting. So if the goal is to get a lead in economy, technology, and army strength, how do we actually play a game of StarCraft? So basically, just the rules of how the game works, the things you can do. You collect resources, you make buildings, you make units, you research technologies, and then you defend your things, and you kill their things. So you defend those buildings, you defend those tech buildings, and then you kill their units. If you kill their units, then you can kill their buildings, essentially. And so, just to give you an idea of what to expect when I try to show you guys a game, so I play as Protoss. There's 3 different races: the Protoss, Zerg, and Terran. So we can get any opponent, and we won't know until we get into the game, but we'll see who it is in the loading screen. So we will know which opponent we're playing against unless they're playing random, in which case we know we're playing against a random, and they will know what race we are, and we have to go figure out what they are. So I'm going to play Protoss in every single game. So just an idea of what that means. The tech trees, the units, the buildings, and even some of the core mechanics of the races are all very different in how they actually work. So this is a Protoss tech tree. This basically just shows what are the things I can make, what are the order of things that I have to make them. So when we start the game, we'll have Nexus and workers. That's it. We can make pylons. This is like kind of like a house in Age of Empires. If you played that basically just lets you make more units. There's a maximum number of units you can have when you start the game. It's like 15, 14. Pylon will let us increase that number so we can keep making units, keep making workers, other things like that. And then the first building real building we'll have to build after the pylon is the gateway. This produces all of our infantry units. The gateway, when you build it, it does not unlock all of these units. You'll see this like unlocks some of those units. So essentially what you're doing is the gateway just unlocks the zealot, but it will be the production building for all of these as we start unlocking them through other buildings. So our gateway produces infantry, our Stargate will produce flying units after we unlock that, and our robotics facility will build some of our specialty units and our expensive ground units. So just an idea, what you'll see me do is you'll see me pylon, gateway, then I'll usually build a second nexus to expand, as a usually an economy focused strategy, and then we'll kind of get into all the rest of our tech, and we'll try to generally we'll scout what the other guy's doing. We'll try to figure out what it is. If he's doing early pressure, then we have to defend it. But generally, the way that I play is I'm trying to be a little bit greedy, get a good economy going, stay alive for the first couple of minutes, and then when I can build a complex army, I'll try to use that. Once I get to a point where I'm comfortable with the army that I have, I'll go basically just look for his army and try to kill it. And then if I succeed in that, then I should be able to get some damage done elsewhere also. And so here I'll show you. This is just kind of what a build order looks like. It's not important what the build order is. I don't want to go through all 3 build orders before I show you guys what a game looks like, because you're not going to know what any of this stuff is anyways until we get into the game. It's not really important, and there's going to be a different build order depending on which race I'm playing against anyways. But basically what a build order means and what it looks like. So as I said before, we have a limited number of units we can make, and the pylon increases that maximum cap on how many units we have. So generally the way that a build order is written out is, so this is the number of units that we have. That's called our supply. And we kind of look at where our supply is, and we get an idea of when these buildings are supposed to be built. And so this is a little bit more logical than using like a timer or something like that, because it basically tells us the specific order that everything is being built in. So when we see 14 pylon and the 16 gate, that means that we built 2 workers in between here. And when we see 16 gate, 16 gas, that means we built these at the same time. 19 nexus means we built 3 more workers before we went and got our nexus, and so on. And then some of these, and add up as a unit, so you'll see that will also increase our supply, and then we'll start building other buildings, tech buildings, and basically the build order always has some sort of goal. So for example, the goal of this build is to safely get up to 3 fully mining bases safely, and basically we'll just play super defensive, try to defend from anything. If we can get these 3 bases up and get all these buildings up, then we're in a pretty good spot. If we don't just get torn apart by somebody who is doing drops or other kind of stuff to get around our defenses. Right, so now I'll just go ahead and go into a game. We'll get playing. What is this shit? Fucking, what the fuck is this? Fucking black spots. What? Why? Why do you do this? What in fuck? God damn it. Gotta be kidding me. Okay, I think I fixed it. Well, okay, so I previously played a game and recorded it and narrated it, and then even went in the replay and watched it, but the video is all fucky because of OBS being a giant turd. Shit's unfortunate. God, the music in this game slap. What the fuck? Okay, so because of that, I'll try again to play another game after I've had another full beer, so from where I previously was. I'm sure it will go very smoothly. I'll try it one more time. To talk over game about. I'll try to talk about what's going on at the start. It can be kind of tough for me to keep talking as the game goes on, probably, because things will get more stressful. A lot more will be going on. So there'll probably be times where I like lose my focus and don't say anything for a while. But at the start of the game, I'll try to kind of explain what the general strategy is and how I imagine the game's gonna go. Based on at least what I see from the guy at first and the build that I usually come into the game with. If we find a match. Usually does not take this long, but since it's late at night, occasionally we can run into these relatively long queue times. Even in a 1v1 queue. Please, please. Why do I hear like StarcraftII music in the background? What is going on? Why is there StarcraftII music? Oh, okay. Guess that song made it into StarCraft II. I was worried like I had Brood War open to the background or something. I don't think I've ever heard that in the main menu here. I wonder if it's like a soundtrack button. Oh my god, a game? I didn't know that's still possible. That would explain why everything is so loud. Didn't have my frickin' headphones plugged in, I was just listening to the speakers. Fucking dumbass. Alright, Protoss versus Protoss. Things can get a little weird in any kind of mirror matchup. Since, especially at the start of the game, you are all building the same units, things can get really snowbally if the only way that you can beat the other guy's units is to build the same units, and he's already ahead of you. Alright, so I throw down my first pylon. You'll see that this kind of works out really well with as soon as this unit finishes, because you can see I can't build any more units until this is done. But this timing will work out to pretty much finish at the same time. And then I'll also have enough money for a gateway. And I'll send this guy across the map. And I forgot to set up my camera hotkeys during the start like I usually do. Okay, let me set those up. Good. Alright. So we'll see how this goes. These matchups can be really weird. A lot of them can be end really quickly. Because things can snowball out of control at the start of the game especially. Alright. Well, I don't know what build I'm gonna do, so see if this works. So I'm basically gonna try to do a timing attack because he's gonna try to do some sort of early expand. Oh, shit. Did not expect this.
Your probes are under attack.
Okay, so he's like trying to rush me basically right now by building buildings in my base to
I am here in the shadows.
but it's gonna work it all for him.
Justice has come.
I am the voice of the eclipse.
Okay. So he tried to do like some sort of weird rush and then expand behind it. So I'm just gonna try to kill him. see what he's got.
Research complete.
Because basically he's like counting on doing some damage to me so early that I can't come over and kill him, and then he goes really greedy. But oh, it's gonna work out there.
Is the void.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
You require my skills. We move unseen.
Okay, so now
It shall be as you say.
take this thing out. Whew. Quick and easy win. Like I said, things move all out of control, so let's go through it real quick. Rewind it. Usually, I would do a little bit better at talking at the early game than that. That was pretty bad, but just since it's like it's a rush, there's a lot to think about and handle. Okay, so we'll go through this pretty slow. So the build I'm doing is kind of bordering on safe, and the other two matchups you see me do, you would see me do a build that's kind of greedy. I've got this in slow motion by the way right now. This is like half the speed of how the game normally plays. I'll speed up a little bit from here. Usually I go for builds that are slightly greedy and then try to defend. This build is not very greedy. It's like super safe. So I build more units. And then I kind of like, if nothing comes and attacks me, then I'll go push out with those. And just kind of like see if I can do a little bit of damage. And then I'll start expanding behind it and go into my normal kind of, safe long-term playing kind of game. So since this is a mirror matchup, let's kind of like show how these builds are diverging right now. What the shit? Let's do this in like wacky ass build. Okay. So they aren't different yet. But let's see, has my scout gone across yet? No. Okay. I was a little suspicious when I saw his unit come in this early. This can a lot of times mean a cannon rush, which is kind of what he did, but he didn't do a real cannon rush. I'll kind of explain that why. He tried to do like two builds. I don't know what shit he could try and do. It was really bad. Okay, so a cannon rush is when you basically build turrets in the other guy's base. And since it's the early game, mostly the only guy only has workers, not great at killing turrets. You basically just build the turrets into his base and then you kill them. And the turrets will just like kill the whole base. That's kind of the idea of a cannon rush. But he does this like phony, weird cannon rush. So I saw this gateway, which made me think, okay, so it's not a cannon rush, even though I saw this worker over here. Because the forge is what allows you to build the turrets, right? So in a cannon rush, like you'll see this guy have a forge instead of a gateway. That's like a sure sign that it's a cannon rush. You never want to build this forge this early otherwise. The only reason he's building it is so that he can make cannons. So he has to build this pylon first. The pylons create like an energy field. Protosses can only build their buildings in the energy field. So he has to build the pylon first and then build the cannon in the energy field. But you're going to see that like this is a rush that comes so late that it doesn't even matter that I didn't even notice that this guy was here. Like I never even see this. I have no clue this here. If I look at my vision, I haven't even gone over here. Because I saw this gateway, I'm not thinking there's any reason. And so, I'll pause it right here. What I did see was his building to the front, which makes me think, oh, he's going to try to expand early and hold it off. Use the buildings at the front to help him hold this ramp so that I can't come kill this. Which is not the normal strategy in PvP, which is short for Protoss versus Protoss. Usually you're going to make two gateways and then make units out of this and expand later, because it's too dangerous to expand like this early. Especially when you do what he did. This is like even worse than a normal way to expand that early. He would have been better off just not building this forge, not building these cannons, and you'll see why, and just like, building units and maybe trying to hold it, but he probably still wouldn't have, because I play against this kind of stuff pretty often. PvP win rate wise is one of my best ones, even though I don't think I actually understand the matchup very well, because a lot of people just try to do this dumb shit at the beginning. I don't know why, but it's really easy to beat. So I think I see this, right, at some point. Yeah, so this pops into my vision when this pylon finishes. I see this building. So now I'm terrified. But so basically I'm gonna pull workers over to kill this. And that means that these workers aren't getting resources for me, which is bad. But I have to kill this. And he's invested so much into doing this attack that I know that if I kill these, then I'm way ahead. Doesn't matter that I'm not mining resources and stuff right now, because, like, just look at how many workers I have compared to him. I have way more than he does. Because he's invested into making these 2 cannons that I'll just kill really easily. And my first units are about to pop out.
I'm here in the shadows.
So first units are out. I started to do this, and I think I remember I should just go mine because he's obviously given up on the rush. And so he's gonna try to take and secure this second base. You can see now I'm ahead in workers, so I'm collecting more than him. I have more army than he does, and then let's see, how do I look at the structures? And then I have more production buildings, so I'm making stuff faster than he does. I'm ahead in pretty much every way at this point. The only thing I don't have is a forge, but he's not even doing anything with now. So he's just now building the cybernetics cores. So the gateway. These are all the units that the gateway can make. You see some of them are grayed out because I haven't unlocked them yet. Because you have to build another building to like unlock these lower levels. So the easy way to think about the gateway is you build the gateway, it unlocks the zealot. That's it. The only thing you can make is a zealot, which is this slow fucking unit that is melee range, and pretty much everything can kill a zealot really easily because it's slow and melee range. But it's tanky, and so it's annoying. And if it does somehow make it to melee range, it can do decent damage. You can upgrade this later to make it not useless, but that's not the point. And then when you build the cybernetics core, which requires the gateway, so you do gateway, and then the next building you basically just have to do this next, just the cybernetics core. This unlocks the rest of these, so I kind of call this like tier 1, and this kind of like tier 1.5, right? And these are more like tier 3. There's not really tier 2 gateway units. Tier 2 is more like different units that come out of a different building. But so he can't even make these units that I'm sitting across right now. He like just started the building that's going to unlock them at some point. And so the only thing he can make is a slow zealot melee unit things. He's not even going to make, I don't think. And he's going to try to hold this ramp. But pretty much everything goes wrong for him here. You see, you're going to see what I do is I know that I can just basically kill him at this point. So I'm going to start building my structures closer to him so that I can, so that there's not such a long, because there's always going to be a defender's advantage, right? My units build over here and walk across. His units build right here. But if I just go ahead and move my buildings across, because I know he can't kill them. He doesn't have any units. I can just build them out in the open. He's not going to be able to do anything about it. So I'm just going to build buildings over here. And send the rest of my units across. Now, so I mentioned earlier, Protoss have to build their buildings in a power field, right? Well, what happens when that power field goes away? These buildings become unpowered. That means they stop doing shit. So, you're gonna see he only has one pylon here. And he's trying to build this photon cannon, and as soon as it dies, you see all these buildings like go gray. They can't, so you can say unpowered. So you can't build units out of them. See, all this is grayed out. The cannon that he has here, the turret, remember I said he had to build a turret, a pylon here, then a turret. The turret can't even shoot me. So he's building some backup pylons over here. Right now I'm just kind of like, I don't want to go up, because I know the only way I lose is if I lose these units. I don't need to kill him like aggressively right now. Now this is a, this here is a Protoss hero unit. So it doesn't have a lot of health, and it has an attack, but that attack's not very strong. The reason that it's a hero unit, you can only build one of these. The reason it's a hero unit is it can turn these pylons into turrets. Much stronger turrets than the ones that he was building over here earlier. These are really strong, and there's no way I could, like... Usually what I would try to do is I'm trying to bait this out, right? Because he has to use energy which recharges pretty slowly to activate this turret. So usually at this point, when I'm in this situation against Protoss, I'm trying to bait this out, and I'll walk away, wait for this to go away. It lasts for like, I don't know, 20 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. It's really hard to have a perception of time in actually in the game. But then once it goes away, then I can just walk back in and kill him. But you can see he like used it, like this pylon's too far away, so like I'm not even in the range. I realized I can just like shoot shit without even being in the range, so now you can't even do anything about it. And I'll just start doing damage to the hero unit. I want to kill it because he will have to rebuild it, and it won't be generating. Like you can see, once he needs 50 energy to use it. So if I kill it, then I'm basically scot-free because there's no more cannons. I'll try to build 4 cannons over here. That's game, he just quits. So he really loses the game, but this is basically not quite a build order loss because he does try to do something tricky. It's not like there's a lot of other people who they try to use their build for the other matchups, like versus Zerg versus Terran. There's a pretty standard opening that you can use for both. They try to use that when you're against another Protoss, and that's just like not viable. But there's nothing tricky about it, right? They're just like doing it in your face, and you just walk across and you're like, oh, you're doing the wrong build, and then you just you just counter it and you kill them. And that's where like a ridiculous number of my wins in Protoss have come from. So that's what I mean when I say I don't get this matchup. I'm not very good at it, but my win rate is still really good because people just, they don't know that they can't do that build in this matchup. But this guy, like, I wouldn't call this a build order loss because he does try to do something tricky, right? He tries to do the cannon rush. If the cannon rush works, it doesn't matter that his build sucks dick, because he was at least tricky about it. The other people, they just do stuff right in your face and hope. Either they hope that you don't scout it, or they don't know that you can't do it. Anyway, that was a good example of how snowbally the mirror matchups can get. I get ahead in units. The only thing he's ever going to be able to build, like in the next like 3 minutes, to kill these stalkers is stalkers. So so I'm always going to have more stalkers than him. I'll just kill the stalkers, and he'll never be able to stabilize. I'll just kill literally everything. This will like snowball so hard that I'll just literally wipe out the whole base. I won't even have to expand or do anything else besides just make more of these. Make some of these out of here. That's it. That's StarCraft. Let's see if we can get a game that doesn't go quite as quick. Go a little bit more into the macro and see how hectic it gets when you are trying to manage so many different things rather than trying to manage one thing super well, which is kind of what that situation turns into. That situation basically turns into me trying to like counterattack and execute it almost perfectly, but there's not a whole lot going on, right? You're just trying to manage one thing really well. $325 games this season. See, almost half of my games I've ever played have been like in the last 3 months. I've been playing this a lot recently. Alright, now over to Terran. Okay, the build that I will use for this matchup, unlike the other one, which was really, really safe, this one is going to be much greedier. But we'll end up on the defensive for probably the majority of the game, unless we win. And then maybe don't be. So we throw that pylon down at the same time pretty much in every game. And my building's pretty much going the same place as for Terran as Protoss. If I'm against Zerg, the building's going a different place. This is late. That was kind of inexcusably slow there, considering how few stuff I actually had to do. Alright, so we're sending a scout across again to see what's up. This time, instead of doing the safe build, we'll be just trying to build our take the second base so that we can mine from it really fast. Fill up our gas geyser so that we can start collecting gas. The little green resource at the top right. It's kind of our like high-tech stuff. He's building stuff in really weird places. So I'm definitely a little nervous that he's going to try to do some kind of early pressure, because his buildings are just in really fucking weird spots. So I'm just going to send some right there. So if we never see him build his base down here, we'll know that, you know, he's got to be doing something, right? So he's going to be doing some sort of pressure.
Your probes are under attack.
Try to get that guy out of there. And then start preparing for some early pressure, because I think that's what he's doing. So probe back in the scout again. Hope that we can get like a... Hopefully we can get some vision again when this guy comes back in. See that there's still nothing here.
Glory to the Daylong. Give us your command.
So we know that there's probably some sort of aggressive play coming out soon. So we need to try to get our defenses up pretty quick.
Justice has come. The firstborn shall persevere. Pour Zalah.
Get that pylon up quick so that we can use it in our defense. So we still see no base, so pressure is definitely coming.
Combat.
Make sure that we don't get supply blocked. Not being able to make units is a good way to die. So make sure that we're continuing to make pylons in the background. Getting supply blocked is actually a really common way to die to pressure when you know it's coming. You know it's coming, you're trying to prepare so much you forget you just need to make buildings. Alright. Let's see if we can find what exactly he is doing. Pressure hasn't come yet, which is very odd. I wonder if he's doing something strange. Like maybe he took this base first, or something really tricky. Send this guy out to look. Okay, so I'm kind of confused about what he's doing. Because we thought there would be early pressure if he took the base so late that his economy's in the gutter compared to mine. And then he also never came and attacked. I'm kind of surprised for that. So we're just going to go ahead and
I am here
take
in
the
the
base.
shadows.
See if we can do it. See if we can figure out what he's got going on over here. seem to be doing anything terribly weird.
Mineral field
Means we're feeling pretty good, because if he's not doing stuff weird, and I did a relatively greedy build, then my economy is way ahead of his. So we're already up to 3 bases.
We are
Good about that. Getting some good tech here. There's some units.
I am the voice of research. I am here in the shadows. Cold is
I'm trying to get up to about 65-ish workers, so we can keep going. Let's see, is he still up here? I saw his units over here earlier. I'm willing to fight him now. 'Cause feel reasonably good about our position here. We're pretty greedy and totally got away with it. Kind of supply blocked right now. It's kind of bad.
mineral field depleted. Upgrade
End of
complete.
the world though. Okay, so now we're at 65 workers. Let's stop making more workers.
My life for iron.
So these things just make upgrades that are like basically just stat boosts. Pretty boring stuff. This thing made our big giant Dave the or what's the fucking name of that movie? War of the Worlds. Big War of the Worlds robots have longer range because of the stuff we researched at that building. Which is a little more interesting than a stat boost.
I return to serve.
Now I really want to find out what he's doing.
My life for iron.
Okay, so we're expanding to a 4th base because our other stuff is starting to run out. So you can see I'm banking a lot of resources right now, which means I'm not spending them efficiently. I need to make more production things so I can, more production facilities will let me build units faster.
I return to serve.
Cassar des Templars. We Cassar des Templars of the Darkness.
Upgrade complete.
I'm just gonna go attack because I'm kind of confused about what he's doing exactly. So, might as well just show our army and see what's up. See what he's gonna do about it.
Upgrade complete.
Okay, well we just get to kill the base for free.
I return to serve.
His army finally makes an appearance. Oh, I made one pretty big mistake here. Let's see if I can look through it. Oh, yeah, it's fine. Okay. I built some units that have like this one really strong ability. Then I forgot to research the thing that lets me use the ability. so I couldn't use it in that fight, even though I had the units there. That's a pretty bad mistake. Look, I'm just so far ahead, it doesn't even matter though. Right now. So now I started the research for that ability here. Once that finishes, we'll be good spot.
Research complete.
What? Oh, hey, stop being retarded. What are you guys doing?
We shall stand.
Yeah, see how this ability is grayed out? I really need that ability. Just to get further ahead. I'm not in a position where, like, the lack of that ability is preventing me from more production buildings. There we are. Come to these guys.
We saw they
Guys will merge together into some powerful units.
Mineral field depleted. Mineral field depleted. Research complete.
Okay. And that's just kind of an example of, as opposed to the other one where the guy just had a bad build. This guy also had, his build was fine, he just did weird stuff with it. Sounds like this replay. Okay, what? I don't know why you would actually do this. I also don't play Terra, so maybe it's the right thing. It doesn't look great though. So usually these buildings, Terran can, these supply depots can lower down, see, so that things can walk over it. So they'll just build this at the ramp, right? They can just block you from walking up and down, and then they can just lower it whenever they want to go up and down, and they can use that to prevent you from getting information. But he didn't do that, and so that's why at the start of the game, you heard me say things are in weird places. Should always be over here. This should always be over here. I wonder if this guy is like a new player or something, just because of the way that he played. Or at least maybe in placements, because he didn't seem really bad, but like, this is like gold or silver level stuff that he was doing. It's just kind of like an easy economy win for me. So I saw him making 2 barracks, which usually is a rush. I think. I could be wrong about that, honestly, but that's usually what I think. I actually see 2 barracks and think that's going to be a rush. Not so scary that I need to cancel this, but scary enough that I want to rush out some units. Make sure I'm building the right things. So I do change up my builds slightly. But then you'll see the attack I'm preparing for just never comes. So I'm keeping my probe around here. I want to see when this base goes out. Because even if I am not smart enough to know builds from the buildings that I see, I am smart enough to know that whenever this thing goes up, he's trying to expand and get a bigger economy. And the longer and longer this doesn't come up, the more and more I know that I just have to defend here. And that I should, like, I don't even need to worry about my own economy, because as long as I defend, I win. If this thing doesn't go up for a really long time. And so you can see I snuck my probe back in here and kind of hide him back here so that you can't see him, right? But I can see if the base goes up here. And so basically I just let him hide there for a long time. I know the attack can't come super fast because he built the buildings here. If he built these like right here, because he can build buildings wherever, he doesn't have to worry about powder fields like Protoss does. Then that would be a really fast rush. But I know that I've got a little bit of time, at least before the attack that I think is coming comes. So you see, I build 1 observer here, so that I can sit it across and figure out what he's doing. Then I start building an immortal. This is not my plan. My plan is not to build any immortals. Usually what I do is I build 3 observers so that I can get like good vision, because I think I said at the beginning of the game, this is supposed to be like ultra defensive. Get to 3 bases, turtle basically on 3 bases, at least for a little while, and then I'll be safe enough that I can push out. But I want to send these observers out so I know if any like drop ships are coming in to drop units on me. And get good vision and just make sure that I have time to prepare for anything. Because my units are slow, I need to move them into position if something is coming in to kill me. So usually I would make 3 of those, but instead, I know if Terran's doing a rush, it's going to come in the front, pretty much. Even if it doesn't come in the front, if it comes in the side and then does a little damage, then my units come up and kill it, I still win. I don't have to like prevent all damage. I have to prevent like critical damage, right? So this unit will help a ton. The Immortal is super cost efficient, it has good range, good DPS, it's tanky, it has an ability that like the first time it takes damage, it like gets a 100 hit point shield for a couple seconds. So if it takes a bunch of damage at once, it'll all get absorbed by that. And it's kind of a good example of how in StarCraft things are balanced more than just like, oh well, this costs this much, so it should have this many stats. The Immortal is like clearly has more stats than the cost. Like it's clearly cost efficient. Like it costs twice as much as a Stalker, and it's like better than 2 Stalkers in pretty much every way. Like it has like more than double the DPS, the same range, more health than 2 Stalkers and such. But it takes a long time to build out of a robotics facility, which also has a lot of other important things to build. So it's balanced around more than just how much it costs. Also the fact that you have to commit robotics bay facility. If I'm building Immortals, I can't build observers, and I can't afford to build a bunch of robotics facilities everywhere and then just like make everything that I want, because they're too expensive. Not like gateways, which you'll see me make tons and tons of these warp gates. I can't afford to make a bunch of these, so whenever I choose what I'm building out of there, that's an important decision. So you can see I go back into Observer after I got that first Immortal out. Because I have this Observer over here, and I see his stuff is at home. As weird as it is, the stuff is at home. That's when I decided I'm just going to expand a 3rd time and see, like, if I have to cancel this because he attacks, that's not a huge problem, because I'm already on 2 faces, and I know I'm ahead of economy. But if I get it up safely, then I know I'm super far ahead. But in times that I don't get anything exciting. So he does finally move out like 3 minutes later than he should. It's got 1 Widow Mine. I'm usually pretty bad about... So Widow Mines can burrow, and then they're stealthed, and you need a detector to see them. And they auto-target and do a lot of AoE damage. But he only has 1, so it's not very scary. And I have an Observer with my army, so Observers are detectors. So like, the reason he doesn't see this, because it's an Observer is an invisible unit. You see it has this detector text, so the Observer is invisible and a detector. You need a detector to see other invisible units, so Observers can see each other, but he can't see it. This is also stealthed because it's burrowed, but I can see it because the Observer is a detector. If I don't have an Observer with my army, then they cannot see or shoot this unit, and it can just sit there and like do lots of damage. But I think I end up giving out. You can see, like, I'm building this. I built this. I think I built another Observer somewhere. Maybe I didn't. Pretty sure I did though. You can see, like, since I've got this Colossus out, I've kind of rushed these Colossus out to defend against these bio pushes, and I go up to 4 and then I stop, because the Terrans do have a unit that counters Colossus really hard, called the Viking, because so Colossus, like, you know, most units are ground or they're air, and units can either shoot at ground or they can shoot at air. The Colossus is unique in that it is a ground unit, but anything that has an anti-air attack can shoot at the Colossus with an anti-air attack. So, like, fighter things that are meant for air superiority can shoot at the Colossus, and they tend to be pretty weak against... Colossus tend to be weak against that, because Colossus can only shoot down. They cannot shoot up. So, usually I build 4 of these with the idea that maybe they'll overbuild the counter, and I switch into... I go a different way in my tech tree. So yeah, he like ends up backing off. I feel like I can kill it, so I go look for it, and then it's not there. So let's look at the income tab. You can see he's only got 36 harvesters. I'd like to have more than this, but I was playing kind of extra safe because I was expecting a aggressive play of some sort. So now I'm just getting like, I'm doing lots of tech, right? Tech is whatever, I consider tech to be anything that is like researched or built that makes my army more efficient. So this is the charge upgrade for the zealots, which are the melee units that are very cheap. It'll make them, it makes their base movement speeds faster, so they're not the slow, stupid, useless slow lots, as we call them, zealots. So their base movement speed is increased, and they get like a auto cast ability that when they get close to an enemy and attack it, they like charge in at super speed and will connect and do bonus damage. But they're basically just a meat shield, because we have these two resources. We have gas and minerals, right? Minerals is kind of like our high-tech stuff. High-tech stuff will cost gas. I think I said that backwards. Okay, minerals, like everything costs minerals. Gas is for like your high-tech stuff. But since we'll be building lots of high-tech stuff, we'll kind of always be low on gas, right? We're kind of limited by gas, and so we'll always have like excess minerals. But zealots only cost 100 minerals. They cost no gas. So we can kind of just like, we'll build like the units that we want, right? And they'll cost gas. And we'll run out of gas. And we'll have extra minerals. And we'll be like, well, might as well build zealots. And we'll build zealots. Because having zealots is better than just banking up all those minerals for nothing. The only time it becomes bad is if you max out and you don't do anything. Because then you can't build anything else. The other guy could be building good stuff. You can't build any better units. All the zealots are occupying all of your supply. Okay. So now, like, I've seen his like army like come out, but like no full engages. So if I saw his army, I'd probably kind of back off a little bit at least, and kind of like reassess whether or not I want to go in or not. But since I haven't seen an army, usually, like, you know, if you build an army to defend and then the attack never comes, you should just push out, because maybe he mind gamed you and he's actually going really greedy, and you're the one who has to go do damage because he's the one who's getting hit in a combat advantage. So this is kind of just like a gut check. Is this guy actually doing what I think he is? I'll push out and find out. Might as well, because I want to find the army, right? And if I don't know where the army is, I'm a little scared. So I push out. His army's like way over here, and he reacts really slow to this. So I just kill the base. It's already a success. I can back off if I want to here. His army kind of gets a good angle. And then I also kind of freak out because I fucked up. So these guys have Storm. I think I talked about it in the last game. No, I didn't. I talked about it in the game that got visually bugged. Okay, so these guys have a AoE spell that also does damage over time. That's really strong against these bio balls, right? These guys all these guys clump up because they're so small and ranged and have the same range, so they'll all kind of clump up together. They have really low hit points, but really high DPS. So if you make a bunch of them, then you have insane DPS. They move around really fast, do lots of damage. They can kill things like in a blink of an eye. You can see these are the Vikings that I was talking about that counter these guys really hard. But these storms also will hit flying units. Okay, so the AoE ball will hit literally everything that's here. They'll hit the flying Vikings. So this is what I'm talking about if he overmakes Vikings to kill the Colossus, then the Templars that I make counter the Vikings and will kill it really hard if I trick him into overmaking them. Well, and even if he doesn't overmake the Vikings, the Storm's really good against this. But when I built the when you build this, you have to research that ability. It doesn't just come on the Templars. The Templars have two abilities: feedback and storm. Storm being the important one. So I didn't research it. So these guys are literally just like paperweights, just like sitting in the middle of the fucking fight. And they're slow, and they have really low hit points, and they're expensive. I really don't want to lose them. So I kind of freak out. I probably should have just like walked away, even though I do have the advantage. And you'll see I still win this fight. Probably would have walked away though if I was freaking out about these guys. You can see I'm just like trying to keep them safe. You can see the Vikings kill all of my Colossus. That's not a big deal. I didn't need them at this point in the game. The Colossus are just there to keep me safe while I'm like on 3 bases or so. I don't think there's too much more exciting happening in this game. He's gonna push out, but you can see that his army is like way weaker than mine. I don't even end up using the Death Storm spell, which is finally researched. Okay, so that game was just an economy win. This guy never even built more than 2 bases. Is that for real? This guy has to have been like silver. I'll actually look at it. There's no way that this guy was like platinum. What the shit? Oh. Okay, that's gonna be it for me today.